Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Global Intelligence Update. And as always, we've got a great guest with us. Joining us this time is Marie-Therese. And for those that don't know Marie, let me give you guys a quick overhead on who Marie is. So insiders call her the media strategist mafia boss. In the light of day, she is known as the media strategist for visionaries. By the time most people first heard of blogs and podcasts, she had launched a handful of both and published pioneered research on their value for inclusive education and training. For over 3 decades, she has inspired audiences from at least 6 continents to laugh, cry, and most importantly, take action. Her business, Yazi Media, Virtual Media House, has been a proud media partner to the Professional Speaking Association of South Africa Convention 2024. That's PSSA. The partnership has brought Marie the opportunity to interview an array of local and international speakers for her second season of the League of Visionaries podcast. What a great name. In turn, these interviews spark a quest to investigate the elusive X factor that makes speakers commercially successful and actually bookable. And Marie has filled international and local audiences in person and online. Today, it's our turn. Welcome, Marie. Very pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Chris, and thank you to the Circle of Excellence and the Global Intelligence Update viewers. I think the best place to start is, well, why are you here? Why are you watching this, or why are you joining us live today? And that comes down to that question that if you had to give some advice to your former self about the business that you're doing, the work you're doing, the career you chose, what would that one piece be? And I'll bet it would be, find out if there's a demand for it before you start. And that was exactly the approach that Chris and I decided on when picking a topic for this presentation, because I said to Chris, I've got a couple of things that it could be relevant to your audience, but what do you think is best? And he said, wow, it all looks exciting, but let's put it to the public. Let's put it out to a poll. And so I ran a poll on LinkedIn, and here was what happened. So in the poll, I asked, what are the topics that you'd like to talk about? And what would you like to master before the year is over? And what the majority of respondents, some of them from the Circle of Excellence, others from the broader Global Intelligence Updates community, and others from my own circle, and then a couple of just random people who showed up to say, whoa, 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 this is what I want. They all said, before the year is out, I would love to learn how to be more bookable as a speaker. And now these are not necessarily speakers. Many of them are experts, enthusiasts, entrepreneurs who have an important message to share. But this was the one thing that united them. And so we decided on bookability. But when we look at that definition, well, over here, what exactly does it mean? Of course, bookability means getting booked more often as a speaker. And I think there's a little bit of a clue to that in the quest of going for demand, really seeing what are people looking for, because that obviously increases our chances of getting booked, doesn't it? But there's more to it than that, because not only do we want to get booked, there's an element of bookability that I'm sure you would love to get more of, and that is payability. We all love to get paid to speak about the topic that lights us up, in addition to just spreading the word. And so when we talk about bookability today, I'd love to help you dive into what the factors are that can make you more bookable. And since we're in September now, before the end of this year, but also on a long-term basis. And that bookability, we'd love to add some moolah to it. So show me the money. Let's go and find what can work for bookability. But now there's something strange. And if you have ever spoken, because I know many of you are speakers as part of your work, or perhaps even as a core part of your work, but if you've never spoken and you think about it and you look at speakers, you might find you see the same guys on stages over and over and over again. And there is someone who actually took a look at this and ran the numbers. This is Maria Franzoni, who has been involved in speaking bureaus for a long time. And today she takes that knowledge and uses it to help speakers become more bookable and more highly paid. So she reckoned there was a bit of a Pareto principle going on here, something of an 80-20, saying that if speakers are getting booked more, there's probably like 20% of the speakers are speaking 80% of the time. And I'm sure you've seen that around, haven't you? Like we see the same speaker speaking again and again and again. So 80-20 sounds about reasonable. But you know what? Since she had the numbers, she could actually do the calculations. And the truth is, what you've suspected is true. What she suspected is true. It's just a whole lot worse. It's not 80-20. It is 99-1. 1% of the speakers are speaking 99% of the time. And why is that? Well, you guessed it, it's the word of our session today, bookability. But what are those key factors that would make them more bookable? You might be wondering, and I'm sure we all have a couple of theories about this in our minds. Those of us who look into what makes the speakers so popular have probably looked at a bit of an analysis. Well, Maria Franzoni actually devised a bit of a formula around this, and you'll see this here in her little words up above. The famous 1%, or Philippe, as you say in the chat, the famous 1%. I'd even go as far as saying the notorious 1%, right? Those who are just known for, and I wonder about you, if you'd like to put in the chat or in the comments if you're watching after, aren't you a little bit tired of seeing that 1% on stage all the time? So let's go crack that code so we can give them a break, because I think they're all overworked, and get more of us on those stages, more bookable and more highly paid. So Maria Franzoni's formula that she has here is this RKMEV and a small e. And I'm not going to dig too deeply into it because she has a whole methodology around her work and she's well worth following and engaging with on this. But she essentially speaks of these factors and says her R is for to be a bookable speaker, you must be R for relevant. Be relevant, right? Because so many of our topics can be a little bit outdated if we don't keep up to date. And even worse, we can have a really hot topic and present it in the wrong way for the right audience. So really being relevant makes sense as a bookability factor. That just gets you on the stage in the first place. The next is a K, and this K is for known. You must be known to be a speaker. And it's interesting that when that first step comes to say, I'm going to take the plunge, I'm going to start speaking, how many of us actually do make it known? And there's an interesting experiment to run here, because if speaking is part of your arsenal, actually saying it as the very first thing you do is probably not a good idea, because your expertise may be the most important thing to mention. But making sure that speaking is there inside your menu is an important thing. And I had a fascinating experience with this with a client. She speaks on a topic that is highly, highly relevant, and that is sustainability and ESG. And this sustainability topic is so relevant that when we met, I asked her, so you want to speak, but do people know that you speak? And she said, well, she just keeps getting invited to things and then she speaks for free. And so we had a little challenge. I said to her, well, how about if you added speaker to your LinkedIn headline? So she has her expertise and then speaker. She added, and within 48 hours, she was contacted with a paid speaking gig from people who had previously asked her to speak for free. That's a nice shift, right? So really putting it out there and being sure that it is known is very important. But of course, actions speak louder than words. Calling yourself a speaker does not say as much as showing up in places, speaking, and being seen to speak. So really, when you do speak, tap it, milk it, make sure that people are aware of it, and also that people can see what comes out of it. And later in this session, I'll be sharing with you an interesting key to make that happen. She also speaks about the M in her formula. So we have R, K, M. M is for memorable. E is for easy. And so in high school, that means something different. But when you're easy as a speaker, she says, be easy to work with, be easy to book. So if people want to book you, can they do it in one click? And be easy when you are on stage to listen to. So be easy to work with, easy to book, and easy to listen to. But then the V is so important that I've put it in red up here. And that is because it's of exponential importance. The V, you may want to guess, is valuable. Are you valuable as a speaker, and do you offer value? Value that really is relevant to that audience. And it is a privilege to be on stage or even on a screen in front of people. And it's a real challenge to ask ourselves, is what I am offering today truly giving value? So that is always a challenge and one that's really worth considering. Now, all of these are bookability boosters, and the bookability boosters are definitely what we want to get into if you want to do a sprint to boost your bookability by the end of this year or in a short period of time and sustainably. But that small e is something far, far, far more dangerous, because that one is a bookability breaker. You can see everything gets blurry around that tiny little e in the corner. And that E is the thing that can take you from the top of speaking all the way down to the bottom in a flash. That E is ego. It's so important that the more prominence and the more respect we earn as speakers, the more we truly become aware of our humility, of the value that other people bring, and most certainly, just very simply, not being a jerk. So as we grow as speakers, it's really important to keep that ego in check and challenge ourselves to see that it doesn't become a problem. And fortunately today, as a speaker, I'm in the very good position to say that I have no reason to get a big ego at this stage, but I am very, very fortunate to be able to stand on the shoulder of giants to share these tips with you today. And I really feel it's in my interest, it is in your interest to widen the pool of speakers so that we can go from that 99 to 1 to an 80-20 to a much more inclusive spectrum of quality speakers who are available on quality stages, speaking to the right people. So I hope that can be a quest that we can go on in this process. So that's Maria Franzoni and her principles. We all get a little bit tired of acronyms from time to time. So I'm actually kind of grateful that here is finally a formula that's not an acronym. So very, very refreshing. But let's move on to another speaker or another speaker bureau owner who made an interesting observation. Her name is Bronwyn Hesketh, and she was a speaker bureau owner here in South Africa. She's now moved to the States, and she, in fact, runs quite an empire of a network of speaker bureaus. And she had a very interesting observation that is important for every speaker to keep in mind. And that is, one of the easy ways to get booked is to work with a bureau. But the truth is, bureaus are not all that interested in you until you're already bookable. In short, she basically said that you're nobody until you're somebody, and they only want you by the time that you're a somebody. So becoming more bookable for yourself is a really effective way to also become more bookable in the eyes of agencies. It's very interesting that even agencies, although they get paid to promote you as a speaker, will still tend to promote the people who are already more bookable in their own right. So there is an invitation for us here to definitely take advantage of speaker bureaus when the opportunity is there, but always keep in mind that you can only be as bookable in their eyes as you are in your own. So that is Bronwyn Hesketh's formula. You're nobody until you're somebody. So make sure that you're somebody so that they can also be interested in you. And then the speaker bureaus can then also go on to promote you. But now we're moving closer, if we really want to be bookable, to needing a really substantial formula. And so with that in mind, I'd love to introduce you to an actual mathematical formula for becoming more bookable. You may be familiar with the Global Speakers Federation president of 2023-2024, Charlotte Kemp, and former Professional Speakers Association of Southern Africa president Bruce Wade. They are both former Circle of Excellence members, and they both took a lot of what they learned in this environment and from their own speaking careers, observing people and what people are asking for to build this formula. They wrote a book called Calculate Your Speaker Quotient, and it is about the Kemp-Wade formula. And it literally isolates the elements that help you to answer the question, what makes you more bookable? But more importantly, a question that people are always asking them when they want to become speakers. And if you think about speaking, whether you are already an established speaker, a starting out speaker, or even if you're just thinking about it, I'd like you to put in the chat, what is your biggest question about speaking, about your next step in speaking? And let's see if it's the same question that they were asked so much that they ended up writing a book about it. So, the question that speakers ask the most. Let's see. Oh, fantastic. So Philippe says finding the right audience, and that is, for example, conferences, etc. Yeah, very, very important question, Philippe. Where do we find our audience? And, oh, Chris, how do I get paid gigs? Excellent. Yes. And I think both of your questions lead to the one that they got the most. And that is, even more specifically, oh, lovely. Thank you, Karen. How do I even get my foot in the door? Fantastic. Yes, this is a very, very good answer to that question. Excellent questions, and all of them popular. But the one they got the most takes that next step, and that is, how much should I charge? How much should I charge? Because that question paralyzes speakers so much that they even forget to ask very good questions like the ones that you just asked. Especially the one, Philippe, about audiences, and Karen, how to get a foot in the door, first of all. Even before asking these questions, people are asking, how much should I charge? And calculate your speaker quotient is all about that. You'll see there is a QR code leading to the book right there, and it is highly, highly recommended. This is the kind of book you actually want on a Kindle edition, and you want one on your bookshelf because there is so much in there. And there's something else about this book. It's magic, because every time you read it, it's like it's a different book. As your speaking career unfolds, you'll find, congratulations, Philippe. Yeah, he says he just bought the book on Amazon. So worth having. You're going to have a blast. Don't start yet. Finish our session first, but it is fun. You're going to have a blast reading it. And it really is massive in empowering you, whatever step of the journey you're at, to up your bookability further. And because of this speaker quotient formula that they have, there's even more. Now, the book is so good that I really recommend that you read it, and read it more than once. But here's a little bit of a cheat sheet on what they offer and what they have to say about this. So their little formula surrounding the Kemp-Wade formula looks into two aspects. The one is your invested career, and that is how you have developed yourself over time. And each one of these icons means something. I'm going to give you a lightning overview, and you'll find more in the book. And then the client value is the other element. And then very importantly, you'll see that little asterisk, that star, because that is about the bookability breakers. So are you ready for the bookability builders? The first side is your invested career. And from the books and the academic hat and things, you can see this is about perhaps academia, but it's more than that. That is about topic expertise. That includes your academic studies, research that you've done, whether it's formal or even inside your work context, and your expert assets. So I believe we have authors in the house. If you are an author, if you have online courses, if you are providing something that people can actually go out and see that you have created, that is really powerful. And we often talk about books, and now as books become so popular and online courses are also maybe becoming oversubscribed, there is an area where I believe there is a great deal to be done still, and that is with documentaries. So if you have a book, a documentary, an online course, these are all part of your topic expertise. The second one, the light bulb, this is about thought leadership and public visibility. Now, I challenge you on this. I know that many Circle of Excellence members journal. And if you journal, you are certainly kindling that flame of your thought leadership. But as long as things are sitting in your journal, they're not reaching the world. Thought leadership is really about being publicly visible, whether that is appearing as an expert source on television or even in podcasts and in interviews and publications, or whether it is publishing a column in newspapers, maybe one that can be syndicated, and you can be paid for in many places. So here are many ways to build your thought leadership. And this is an element or one of the outcomes of what I approach when I work with speakers on their media strategy. Then the next step, this one has a square next to it. And that's because it's that important. As a speaker, for bookability, this is your speaking skill set. That is about your experience as a speaker, your years in the industry, the number of speaking engagements and the quality, so it's the quality and the quantity of your speaking engagements, the variety of things that you can do, your international experience. So those of you who just came back from Bali, those of you who travel, those who are working on building an international speaking career, you can see how that feeds back into your relevance and into your value as a speaker. And another one that I love is your creative expression as a speaker. It's very easy to get sucked into that corporate mindset of that's where the money is if we can do the formal training. But even in the corporate environment, people are thirsty for your creativity. And the great thing about your creativity is it makes you completely unique. If you've always felt that you're a person who's not creative, today there are so many ways to boost that, to enhance that, whether it is with a team or whether it is by enlisting AI or whether it is by very simply beginning to discover the creative side of yourself. So these are all things that give you tremendous value in your speaking skill set. The speaking skill set squared, because it's that important. Experience, years in the industry, engagements, variety, international experience, and creative expression. And then the star, like the Hollywood star on the Hall of Fame, that is about your star quality, or what they call your fame value. That is name recognition. When people mention your name, do they recognize you? Are you gaining credibility from recognized sources? So that, of course, is a work in progress, but building that fame value and beginning with a small circle that can expand you, the circle of excellence is a great one, is one way to start building that fame value. So that's the invested career. The other aspect of the Kemp-Wade formula is your client value, and they calculate this in a very sophisticated way, but just to see the components, it's worth looking at what they are. So the first one, this magnifying glass, this is about clarity on the problem your client has. So as a speaker, your client is the one who books you. And then, of course, they serve their audience. So you always have two layers of clients as a speaker. Your clarity on the problem. The second one is also related to that problem, and that is your clarity on the solution. And of course, the solution, you have to understand the problem to understand the solution, but that one then is squared again. Do you have insights on the solution? Do you have a developed blueprint? Another thing that as a Circle of Excellence member, you are very good at leveraging. And then do you have a proven methodology that has proven to work over time? So the clarity on the solution, again, which is squared because it's so important, insights into the solution, a developed blueprint, and a proven methodology. And then the perceived value of your results. That's your check mark. How valuable does the client perceive your offering to be? And then finally, the understanding of the client industry. So the client value, again, that is clarity on the problem, the solution, the perceived value among the clients, and then finally, your industry insights. And then what about that all-important asterisk? All of these bookability builders mean nothing because they are divided by the bookability boosters, bookability breakers, if you have those. So pay close attention to those bookability breakers. It's interesting how Maria Franzoni pointed out ego as the thing that can break you, because there's a flip side of ego, and this is what the Kemp-Wade formula says can break you, and that is imposter syndrome, low self-esteem, and past poor performance. And how fascinating that all three of those really begin with ourselves. These are not things that you can go out there and get a media company to solve for you or get an AI to fix for you. They are really deep inner work that we can only do for ourselves. And the truth is, even if you have one incredible speaking engagement, you will never be able to sustain that if these things are crippling you. So really look into those bookability breakers. And that is the Kemp-Wade formula from Charlotte Kemp and Bruce Wade. And if you find that these are valuable to you, well, I have a little cheat sheet of bookability boosters for you, and that is a gift I'd love to share with you. So when we finish our presentation, or right away, you can actually go through to the link that you see here. I'm also going to shift away so that you can see what you get. Oh, well, so first, you will get a little cheat sheet of bookability boosters after completing a little survey on this session and the value, remember how important value is, that it's given to you. But there's something else here, and that is if you are watching this during the very first week from our session today, and that will be until the 2nd of October, you can complete this survey and you can then stand to win a Bookability Action Plan consultation that is valued at $1,000 US. So you can go to the QR code over here. I am going to share it again later. And with that, you can actually go straight through and leave a review of this talk, because I'd like to know what value it gave to you. And then there will be a random draw at the end. So let's see who is going to be winning that, and I'll keep Chris up to date on what the progress is there. But either way, leave a review and you'll be able to access the Bookability boosters right there. So that is one of the symptoms of dealing with Mike Handcock from the Circle of Excellence, is that somewhere roughly 2/3 through a presentation, we hear a little bit of something that you can get. But there's more. You might be thinking about especially that speaking skill and delivery skill. How can you improve that? And there are two incredible speakers, both of them global speaking fellows with the Global Speakers Federation, who put together a remarkable handbook about speaking. And this is called The Exceptional Speaker: How to Deliver Sensational Speeches. And if you've ever had the privilege of being in the presence of Alan Davies or of, Alan Stevens or Paul Dutoit, you will know that they are speakers who know what they're speaking about. And I'm happy to say that this is not a complicated formula. It's an incredible book packed with wisdom that should be on every speaker's shelf. But I'll tell you what, that book contained one piece of wisdom that shook my world, because that encapsulates what it is to be a great speaker. It's simple, it's beautiful, and it's easy to remember. And here it is. A great speech transforms your audience. And if you're able to deliver speeches or presentations or talks that can transform your audience, you will always be bookable. Because you see, there are some things that just are a wild card. They might not be part of a formula. They might not follow the rules, but they could be more. And I'm going to dive into that in a second. But I do want to share with you two other very simple insights that really made a difference for me. You've heard that in the 2024 Professional Speakers Association's convention, I was fortunate enough to be a media partner with my company, Yazi Media. And this gave me the chance to go and interview all the speakers. And of course, the matter of bookability, pricing, how do you do it? These things all come up, and they will be things that we would dive into and share more about. I see in the chat, Karen, you're asking about the codes. I'm going to share those with you again. And also at the end of my presentation, I'll leave you with the QR code for the review. You leave the review and then you'll get the cheat sheet, and that includes the QR codes to the books. So fear not, right? I will be with you. Thank you. So this was one of the speakers by the name of Gilan Gork. And well, what he does basically is good old-fashioned magic. So he's known as the mentalist, and he has his big speaking breakthrough was speaking to a group of people that I think any of us would love to speak to. If I had a chance to speak to them, I'd really just say, can we lay our weapons down? He had the chance to show them a magic trick or 10 and really blow their socks off, and hopefully also bring back a really powerful message to them. But Galan's message to that group was rooted in a new discovery of seeing what his value is. This was NATO. Now that's quite an audience to address, right? The NATO great international gathering, and one that literally holds life and death in its hands. And as he was given this speaking assignment, he suddenly thought, oh my goodness, what do I do now about my speaking profile? And how do I, get everything up to date? And he suddenly asked himself, wait, why am I asking myself this now? Why do I, now that I have a big international speaking gig, go and update my profile to show that I have a big international speaking gig? Isn't that a bit of a chicken and egg situation? Wouldn't it be more sensible before we have the big international speaking gig to have the standard of someone who gets big international speaking gigs? And that was quite an insight for me, because it reminded me that if we really do want to be out there as speakers, let us do that true imitative magic. If you've ever seen a rain dance in many tribal cultures, the rain dance imitates rain, and mysteriously rain follows. How can we imitate or embody the effects of being an impactful, influential international speaker and see what will follow? So don't wait for the big international speaking gig, says Gilan. Get your speaking presence up to date, as if you're already there, and see what happens. And when it happens, please do let me know. Another piece of wonderful, beautifully simple advice comes from the Circle of Excellence's very own Lundy Jack. And when she was asked, how do you become a speaker? And Karen, I think that will resonate with your question. How do you even get started? How do you get a foot in the door? She said this. Now, if you know Lundy, I think you can picture this in your mind. She almost teleported up to the whiteboard. You know how she can do with this incredible speed and incredible vim and incredible energy. And she flipped over a new page on the flip chart and she wrote 1, 2, 3. And she said, if you want to be a successful speaker, you need 3 things. 1, a message. 2, a business plan. And 3, and now once again, nobody can do this quite like Lundy, she said, an accent. So, and the accent is not so much about having an accent that sets you apart. It's about having something that sets you apart. It may be an accent. Philippe says, I can do that accent. Yep, you got it. It's about that uniqueness. And that is where that secret lies. And so, with all of these wonderful pieces of advice, we can see there's a whole lot that we can do when it comes to being remarkable, highly bookable speakers. But I also think it's possible that we should think about a wild card, a joker, something that changes everything. Because I'm sure you can think about a speaker who breaks all the rules, somebody who does not follow a formula, and yet they're getting booked at some of the highest rates in the world. Trevor Noah gets booked not just because he's funny, not just because he's Trevor, but because he's got something truly unique. It is the humor, but it's also the heart inside the humor. Eckhart Tolle in many ways would be booed off the stage if he were being rated on his speaking quality. And yet his message is a trump card. The power of now is making such inroads in the world and has continued to do so over more than decades that Eckhart Tolle is almost unbookably expensive. And then somebody like Brené Brown. We don't think of academics as being very exciting speakers, and yet the academic message that she has, the work that she's done, that foundation, she has filled with a soulfulness that has made her a speaker who truly changes lives and is bookable and billable to boot. And that is very simply to say that whether it's an accent, whether it's that unique twist that you bring, or whether it's just a little something extra, chances are you have that special something. It's just a matter of identifying it and then really playing that wild card. But before I close, I do want to ask you to imagine that if you are up there 12,000 meters in the sky in your first-class silk pajamas, sipping the bubbly beverage of your choice at the very highest height in the world, and leaning back in your flatbed seat on the way to your next keynote speaking gig, for which you're being paid fortunes, and of course, the flights on the house, right? Can you truly say that you're innerly at peace, that you're feeling calm about your presentation, that you know that you'll be giving value? Can you truly say that you're healthy, that you're vibrant, that you have the energy for all the demands that your presentation and your schedule and your audience and your fans, your followers, the media, the people who want to know what you're doing are going to place on you? Do you know that back home, your business is ticking over beautifully because you have a rock star team running things? That everyone in your family is okay because they're empowered and they're equipped and they can be fine on their own? Because at the heart of bookability lies an inside job of taking care of yourself, of being strong, being healthy, being sound in mind and body, being well equipped in your home, in your life, in your business, so that success does not have a price to pay that you cannot afford, but rather that it can be the final crown on a life that is in beautiful balance and expressing your value in the world. Because that is what real bookability is. And before I hand you over for questions, I have promised to share that link with you again. So once again, if you would like to receive the Bookability PDF, Bookability Boosters, and stand a chance to win that Bookability Action Plan session worth $1,000 US, you can scan this QR code or go to speakerscore.it and put in the code Bookability 2024. That's all caps. Oh, sorry, 2409, Bookability 2409. And that is it from me. Thank you so very much, Chris. Thank you to the Circle of Excellence members who are here today. And for everybody watching our recording, I look forward to hearing your feedback.
Yeah, thank you, Marie. So many insights and tips shared. Guys, if you want to do a rewatch on it, I will be posting the link soon. Give it an hour or so for everything to upload to all the platforms and so forth. But yeah, this is a chance. We've got Marie live. If you've got a question, drop it in the chat or unmute yourself. We'll just give it a minute or so. But yeah, I really appreciate it, Marie. Lots of insights, and it's always nice seeing you and talking to you. So thank you so much. Thank you for sharing all of that. I think it's going to help
It's a
us.
pleasure to be here, Chris. Thank you. And happy Heritage Day for the South Africans. I'm very impressed
Yeah.
with anybody who got up so early on a public holiday when there were all kinds of festivities to take care of, and braaiing, barbecuing, of course.
Yeah. So there's the link. Great stuff. Corin saying, Marie, such an amazing webinar. Thank you, Corin. I agree. It was a very good webinar. And I think the offline audience really also just gonna appreciate all the tips and all the insights that were shared in this. So yeah, if you guys have not connected with Marie on LinkedIn, I shared the link a little bit earlier. Let me just get that link again. Connect with Marie on LinkedIn. And yeah, I know we'll see you again soon on the Global Intelligence Update.
Yes. Yes, and I'd love to hear if there is anybody who has any thoughts about what are the things that you can do before the year is out that's going to make the biggest difference for you, for your bookability. That would be fascinating.
Yeah, so let's give that a minute. If you guys want to type that in, that would be great. Or unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Let's hear what you have to say. Andrea saying, thank you so much for sharing your amazing knowledge. Yeah.
Thanks, Andrea.
Chris, it's interesting because stage speaking is actually something I'm actually not interested in at all. I've been a speaker before multiple times and spoken on stages and do a lot of education and facilitation workshops, spoken to government agencies, spoken on behalf of government agencies, spoken to corporates, C-suites. And I come away and people go, oh my gosh, that was amazing, that was fantastic. But I have to admit, I really am impressed by people who want to make it their full-time gig. It's, it takes a real inner strength and real character and determination to and a lot of belief in yourself too, because there are a lot of wannabe speakers out there who really should go get a day job, and so it's right, like some of them are just like, please don't, just go get a day job and just stick to your knitting. So I really do commend people, and that was one of the things I found at the Bali School. There was some amazing speakers there. Alex Pryor, she was there, obviously my twin, she was there, she's amazing. And oh my gosh, what a fascinating story she's got to share. And the other one was Michael Brian Lee, who's just got the nod to speak at GSS today, this weekend. So really proud of being in those guys' presence and sharing time with them. So yeah, I commend anybody who wants to make it a full-time gig. I'm just like, yep. So yeah, that was my 10 cents worth. So fantastic tips and tools that you can give them. So yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Andrea. That is a really fascinating thing. I have a fire alarm going, which I assume is not the first false alarm of the morning. The first one came while I was in the shower, so at least this time I'm dressed and dry, which is nice. But I so hear what you're saying on the strength, the resilience, the inner oomph that it takes. And many speakers actually advocate having a much more rounded kind of portfolio of services that they offer. And I've heard some of the most successful speakers in South Africa have made presentations in which I listened to them saying, remember, it's just a job and sometimes it sucks. Forget the glamour, forget everything else. It's really, really hard work. And it is important to de-romanticize speaking and maybe really just see where does it fit into your diet. The first time I made this presentation, I'd made a commitment to myself to do at least one paid speaking gig a month and at least one additional speaking gig a month. If it pays, that's lovely, but really just looking at speaking more. And I very quickly realized that the energetic input is actually something that I'm not so comfortable giving regularly. So once a quarter, fantastic. And it's not preparing the slides or preparing the talk or doing the talk. It's actually the mob afterwards. And this is very, very interesting because feeling in demand is lovely. It's very good affirmation and all kinds of things. But at the same time, very, very important to go and see what is my energy budget and rather look at other ways to communicate, to speak, but it might not always be in the same high intensity, high pressure environment as on stage. So thank you for that. Really, really valuable. Thank you, Andrea.
And can I just say, I'm so pleased you mentioned that because people don't realize it's not the preparation. The preparation's the easy part. It's when you come off the stage and then you just get mobbed. And it's just like just back up the boat, take a number. And you have to be polite to everybody. You've got to have that same level of or that consistency when you're talking to everyone, and then you go behind the stage and you collapse on a heap in the green room. And it's like, bring me wine, bring me lots of wine. So I'm so pleased you said that because I do feel that part is very under discussed, and it's not one that people talk about. I used to do a lot of business events and manage business events, so we were dealing with A-grade international speakers all the time, and they talk about them being really precious in the green room, and you really begin to understand why they are. It's because they come off the stage and they're wiped out completely. And yeah, so I get it. I see, and I'm so pleased you mentioned that because honestly, that's very highly underestimated.
And also knowing yourself and setting your boundaries as a speaker. So we often get encouraged to do more than we're actually capable of. But really, if you are trying, and I know that there has been a question in the chat about where do you even get started, start small. Start small. And nowadays you can start online. Teensy tiny, that's exactly it. Start small and see what's working, what doesn't work, and then get a bodyguard. Even if it means like getting your brawny nephew, like get that person who's polite, but also going to just buffer the crowds for you.
Great advice. Great advice. So Philippe also saying he bought the exceptional speaker book. So
Oh, Philippe.
Maria, I hope you get some commissions. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, Marie, sorry, you're more than welcome.
I'm really, really pleased to be, sharing these resources. These are South African-based speakers that are doing world-class work. Of course, Alan is in the UK, but finding that there is such a good resource, it would be criminal not to share it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for sharing. Colin asking what was the first book again? Let me just check.
I'll put it in the chat for you quickly. And by the way, when Chris puts up these materials, I will I'll put the links in the YouTube video comments as well.
Oh, that'd
So
be
this
great.
is the first book with its link.
Awesome. So there's the first one.
I'll add the second one as well.
Hearts up, gotta go. Thanks for joining in, Philippe. Really appreciate it. As always, such a dedicated webinar attendee, I would say. But yeah, there's all the links. Thank you for that, Marie. And we actually are on the hour, guys, so it's going to end soon. And Marie, just want to say thank you again. Great guest. So much things that you've shared, and we really appreciate it. So thanks everyone for joining in live, and thanks for those that are watching and listening offline. We'll catch you guys again next week. I hope you have a great week ahead, and we'll see you again. Bye, everyone.
Yes.